The underground fighting ring in South Chicago reeked of blood, sweat, and desperation. Men in expensive suits surrounded the cage, their faces illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights as they screamed their bets into the chaos. Inside the octagon, Jae-won Kim moved like a predator, calculated, efficient, merciless. His opponent, a man twice his size, swung wildly. Jae-won ducked, his movements fluid despite the existing cuts on his face. He struck once, twice, 3 times, precise jabs to the liver, the temple, the jaw. The giant crumbled like a demolished building. The crowd erupted. Money changed hands, but Jae-won's expression remained frozen, carved from ice. At 28, he'd already earned his nickname, the Ice King of Chicago. He controlled the city's underground with an iron fist, his reputation built on violence and absolute loyalty. Cross him once, and you disappeared. Cross him twice, well, no one lived long enough for twice. "Boss, we need to move," his right-hand man, Min-jun, called from ringside. The Petrov crew was spotted 2 blocks south. They're looking for trouble. Jae-won wiped blood from his knuckles with a white towel that quickly turned crimson. "Let them look. Send a message to Victor. Tell him next time he sends scouts into my territory, I'll send them back in pieces." Across the city, in the fluorescent-lit chaos of County General Hospital's emergency room, Amara Bennett was fighting her own battle. A gunshot victim thrashed on the gurney as she applied pressure to his wound, her dark hands steady despite exhaustion. "I need more gauze. He's losing too much blood," she shouted. "Dr. Pruss, Patterson rushed over with supplies. "Good instincts, Bennett. Keep that pressure steady." At 23, Amara had already logged more hours in trauma care than most residents. She was a pre-med student by day, working toward her dream of becoming a surgeon and an ER nurse by night, financing that dream one bloody shift at a time. Dark circles shadowed her brown eyes, and her natural hair was pulled back in a tight bun that had loosened during the chaos of her 14-hour shift. Her phone buzzed in her scrub pocket. A text from Marcus. "Where are you? You promised to celebrate with me tonight. Don't bail again." Guilt twisted in her stomach. Marcus Williams, her boyfriend of 3 years, had just secured a major business opportunity, though he'd been vague about the details. She'd been supporting him through his MBA program, covering his rent, his car payment, his networking dinners. The least she could do was show up for his celebration. She glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. Her shift ended at midnight. "I'll be there by 12:30. "Which club?" she texted back. "Azure. Dress nice. Important people will be there." Amara looked down at her blood-stained scrubs and sighed. She kept a dress in her locker for exactly these occasions, Marcus's last-minute plans that always seemed to take priority over her exhaustion. An hour later, she stood outside Azure, Chicago's most exclusive nightclub, feeling distinctly out of place. Her simple black dress was appropriate, but nowhere near the designer outfits the other women wore. The bouncer looked her up and down skeptically until she mentioned Marcus's name. Apparently, her boyfriend had pulled here now. Inside, the bass thundered through her chest. Strobe lights painted the crowd in alternating colors. She found Marcus in the VIP section, surrounded by men in expensive suits and women who looked like models. He'd already had too much to drink. She could tell by the looseness of his movements, the volume of his laughter. "Amara, baby, you actually came." He pulled her into a sloppy kiss that tasted like expensive whiskey. "Everyone, this is my girl. She's a nurse, saves lives and shit." The way he said it, like her career was a cute hobby rather than her entire purpose, made her jaw tighten. But she smiled, played along, let him parade her around like a trophy he'd won. "So, Marcus," one of the suited men said, leaning back with a cigar, "you really think you can move that kind of product through the South Side without any problems?" "Product?" Amara's stomach dropped. She pulled Marcus aside. What kind of business opportunity is this exactly? Don't worry about it, baby, just networking. Real money, not that minimum wage shit you're killing yourself for. Marcus, if you're getting involved in something illegal, God, you sound like my mother. Live a little, Amara. Not everything has to be so righteous all the time. He gulped another drink. I'm tired of being broke while you work yourself to death for pennies. This is our chance. Before she could respond, a commotion erupted near the bar. A woman stumbled backward, clearly drunk, careening directly toward the private booth in the darkest corner of the club, the one section everyone seemed to avoid. Marcus, trying to steady himself, inadvertently shoved the woman harder. She crashed into the booth, sending glasses shattering across the table and expensive liquor splashing across a man's suit. The music stopped. The entire club went silent. Amara's blood turned to ice as she saw who sat in that booth. Even in the dim lighting, Jaewon Kim's presence was unmistakable. He sat perfectly still, whiskey dripping from his jacket, his expression completely blank. That blankness was somehow more terrifying than rage would have been. 4 men in black suits materialized from the shadows, surrounding Marcus. The woman who'd been shoved had disappeared. Smart girl. I'm sorry, man, I didn't mean it was an accident, Marcus babbled, his drunkenness evaporating into pure fear. Jaewon still hadn't moved. His dark eyes swept the scene, cataloging, calculating. When his gaze landed on Amara, something flickered across his face. Recognition, though she was certain they'd never met. Without thinking, Amara stepped between Marcus and the suited men, her hands raised in a placating gesture. Please, it was an accident. We'll leave right now. We'll pay for the damage, whatever it costs. I'm so sorry for the disruption. Jaewon stood slowly, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. He was tall, lean, with sharp features that could have been carved from marble. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, a mark of violence that only enhanced his dangerous beauty. He walked toward her, each step measured, predatory. His men parted to let him through. When he stopped directly in front of Amara, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive, subtle, dark, he tilted his head slightly. You, he said quietly, his voice accented with Korean inflection but perfectly clear. You're the girl from the bridge. Amara's breath caught. 6 months ago, during her morning jog along the Chicago River, she'd seen a man in the water, drowning, bleeding, clearly in distress. She'd jumped in without hesitation, pulling him to shore despite the icy temperature. She'd performed CPR, her nurse training taking over, breathing life back into his lungs until his chest heaved and water poured from his mouth. Paramedics had arrived, and in the chaos, she'd slipped away, late for class, never learning his name. That was you? She whispered. You saved my life. He stepped closer, and she could see the intensity burning behind his icy exterior. You pulled me from the river, breathed for me when my lungs had given up. Then you vanished before I could thank you. Before I could learn your name. I had class. I didn't think. I've been looking for you for 6 months. His voice was soft, intimate, as if they were alone rather than surrounded by hundreds of people. I hired investigators, searched hospitals, universities, everywhere. The paramedics said you gave a false name. I was beginning to think you were a ghost. An angel I'd imagined in my dying moments. Marcus laughed nervously, a sharp sound that shattered the moment. Small world, right? But hey, we're cool now? She saved your life? You forgive the drink thing? We call it even? Jaewon's gaze never left Amara's face. What's your name? Amara. Amara Bennett. Amara. He said it slowly, tasting each syllable. Beautiful name for a beautiful savior. I'm Jaewon Kim. And now that I've found you, I have a debt to repay. In my culture, when someone saves your life, You owe them everything. Your life becomes theirs. That's that's not necessary. Really, I'm just glad you're okay. Come with me. He extended his hand. She's my girlfriend, man, Marcus interjected, puffing his chest up with drunken bravado. We're actually engaged. Show him the ring, Amara. Amara's hand instinctively went to her left ring finger, where a modest promise ring sat. Marcus's gift on their 2-year anniversary, presented with vague promises of someday soon. Jaewon's expression finally changed. His jaw tightened, and something dark flashed in his eyes. Engaged, he repeated flatly. To him. Yeah, to me. So, thanks for understanding, but we'll be going now. No. The single word carried absolute authority. Jaewon gestured, and his men closed ranks around them. Minjun, bring me everything on Amara Bennett. Every detail, every debt, every connection. I want it within the hour. Yes, boss. Wait, what? You can't just... Amara started. Jaewon finally looked at Marcus, and the contempt on his face was palpable. You, the coward who shoved a defenseless woman to save himself from minor embarrassment. You don't deserve her. You don't deserve to breathe the same air as her. Fuck you, man. Amara, let's go. Marcus grabbed her arm, pulling hard enough to hurt. In an instant, Jaewon had Marcus against the wall, forearm pressed against his throat. The movement was so fast Amara barely saw it happen. Touch her like that again, and I'll break every finger on your hand. Slowly, while you watch. Jaewon, please, Amara said urgently. He's drunk. He didn't mean anything. Please, just let us go. Those dark eyes found hers again, and she saw something in them that made her stomach flip. Not quite madness, but close. Obsession, perhaps. Possession. I'll let him go. For now. But you, Amara Bennett. He released Marcus, who crumpled against the wall, gasping. We will see each other again very soon, and next time, you won't walk away. Amara didn't sleep that night. She lay in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the water-stained ceiling, Marcus snoring on the couch where he'd passed out after she drove them home. Her mind replayed the encounter over and over, Jaewon's intensity, his words, the way he'd looked at her like she was something precious he'd lost and found again. She knew who he was now. After Marcus passed out, she'd spent hours researching online. Jaewon Kim, Chicago's most dangerous criminal. Connected to everything from underground fighting rings to illegal gambling, weapons trafficking, and worse. The FBI had been trying to build a case against him for years, but witnesses kept disappearing or recanting their testimony, and she'd saved his life. Her phone buzzed at 6 a.m., startling her from half sleep. Unknown number. Good morning, Amara. I hope you slept well. A car will pick you up at 8 a.m. We have much to discuss. JK. Her hands trembled as she typed back. I'm not coming. Leave me alone. The response was immediate. Your mother's dialysis treatments cost $4,200 per month. Your father's restaurant, Bennett's Soul Food, is 3 months behind on rent, $18,000 in total. Your brother Dante's legal fees from that false drug charge, $45,000. Your own student loans, $127,000. Your boyfriend's gambling debts, $83,000. Currently owed to very dangerous people. Amara sat up, panic flooding through her. How did he know all this? How had he gathered so much information in just a few hours? The car will arrive at 8 a.m. Don't be late. We wouldn't want anything unfortunate to happen to your family. She wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, she called her mother. Amara, baby, it's so early. Is everything okay? Her mother's voice was groggy, concerned. Mom, your dialysis appointments, have there been any problems lately? Anyone asking questions? Funny you should mention it. Yesterday, the nicest young man came by the clinic. Said he was from some charity foundation, wanted to help cover costs for patients in need, asked me all sorts of questions about our family. I told him about your father's restaurant, about you working so hard for school. Why, baby? Is something wrong? Amara's blood ran cold. Mom, if anyone else comes around asking questions, don't tell them anything, and call me immediately. Promise me. You're scaring me, Amara. Promise me, Mom. I promise. Baby, what's going on? I have to go. I love you. She hung up and immediately dialed her father. He answered on the first ring, always an early riser. Daddy, has anyone come by the restaurant? Anyone asking about the business? About the family? Her father was quiet for a moment. A man came by yesterday evening. Korean fellow. Very polite. Said he was interested in investing in local businesses. Wanted to know about our history. Our struggles. I thought it was strange, but he seemed genuine. Even left a card. Said to call if we needed anything. Why? You know him? Daddy, please. Don't trust that man. Don't accept any help from him. I'll explain everything later, but promise me. Amara Janelle Bennett, you tell me right now what kind of trouble you're in. She couldn't. Not without terrifying him. Not without revealing Marcus's gambling debts, which she discovered only through Jaewon's text. I'm not in trouble. I met someone who's not what he seems. Please, Daddy. Trust me. Don't accept any offers from him. At 8 a.m. sharp, a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building. The driver, an older Korean man with a kind face, opened the back door. Miss Bennett, Mr. Kim is waiting. And if I refuse? The driver's expression remained pleasant. Then I have instructions to proceed with visits to your mother's dialysis clinic, your father's restaurant, and your brother's high school. Mr. Kim is very thorough in his persuasions. Amara got in the car. They drove to a penthouse in the Gold Coast, one of Chicago's wealthiest neighborhoods. The apartment occupied the entire top floor of a gleaming high-rise with views of Lake Michigan that probably cost more than Amara would earn in her lifetime. Jaewon stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit. In daylight, without the club's harsh lighting, he was even more striking and more terrifying. Thank you for coming, he said, as if she'd had a choice. What do you want from me? Sit, please. He gestured to a leather chair that probably cost more than her car. She remained standing. You had people investigating my family, threatening them. Not threatening, gathering information, understanding your world so I can better protect it. He turned to face her fully. Amara, you saved my life 6 months ago. In my culture, that creates a bond that cannot be broken. Your life is now my responsibility. Your happiness, my obligation. Your safety, my priority. That's insane. Perhaps. But it's also truth. He moved closer, his movements predatory despite their grace. I've spent 6 months searching for you. 6 months wondering if you were real, if I'd imagined you. And now I find you wasting your life supporting a man who doesn't deserve you, working yourself to exhaustion while he drinks and gambles away your future. You don't know anything about my relationship? I know everything about your relationship. Marcus Williams, 25, MBA candidate at DePaul University, except he hasn't attended class in 3 months. He's been spending his days at underground poker games, losing your money. The business opportunity he celebrated last night? A low-level position running drugs for the Petrov organization, my competitors. He's planning to use you as cover, make you complicit in his crimes. Amara felt the room spin. You're lying. Jaewon picked up a tablet from his desk and handed it to her. She saw photos. Marcus at poker tables, Marcus meeting with known criminals, Marcus with other women. Text messages confirming everything Jaewon had said. The evidence was irrefutable. She sat down heavily, the tablet falling from her numb fingers. I'm not telling you this to hurt you, Jaewon said, his voice surprisingly gentle. I'm telling you because you deserve the truth. You deserve better than him. Better than this life of exhaustion and debt and betrayal. Why do you care? Tears pricked her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Because you saved me. Because in that moment, when you pulled me from the water and breathed life back into my lungs, you became the most important person in my world. Because I've spent 6 months obsessed with finding you, and now that I have, I will never let you go. The words should have sounded romantic. Instead, they sounded like a life sentence. I'm offering you a choice, Jaewon continued. Marry me. Become my wife. In exchange, every debt your family carries will disappear. Your mother's medical bills, paid in full. Your father's restaurant, purchased outright. All back rent cleared. Your brother's legal troubles, resolved, his record expunged. Your student loans, eliminated. You'll want for nothing. That's not a choice. That's blackmail. The alternative is I do nothing. Your mother's dialysis stops next week when the clinic cuts her off for non-payment. Your father loses his restaurant in 30 days. Your brother goes to trial with a public defender who'll ensure he's convicted. And you drown in debt while your boyfriend drags you into his criminal activities. You're a monster. Yes. He said it without hesitation, without shame. I've done monstrous things. I'll continue to do monstrous things, but never to you. Never to anyone you love. Marry me, Amara, and I'll be your monster. I'll protect you from every other monster in this city. I don't love you. I don't even know you. You will. I'll make sure of it. I can be patient when necessary. He pulled out a document, a marriage contract. 3 days. That's how long you have to decide. After that, if you refuse, the consequences begin. Your choice. Amara stood, her legs shaking. I need to think. Of course. The car will take you wherever you wish. But Amara? He caught her wrist gently as she moved toward the door. Know this. I've never wanted anything in my life as much as I want you. I will have you. The only question is whether your family remains intact when it happens. Amara spent the next 2 days in agonized limbo. She couldn't tell her family. The knowledge would destroy them. She couldn't tell Marcus. He'd either try to be a hero and get himself killed, or more likely, he'd run and leave her to face everything alone. She researched Jaewon obsessively. Every article painted him as Chicago's most dangerous criminal. The Ice King who'd consolidated the city's underground through strategic violence and absolute loyalty. No one crossed him twice because no one survived crossing him once. But she also found other things. Anonymous donations to children's hospitals, youth programs in underserved neighborhoods that somehow always had funding. A pattern of protecting the innocent even while destroying the guilty. He was a monster, yes, but perhaps not only a monster. On the 3rd day, Marcus finally revealed his true colors. She came home from her shift to find him packing. Where are you going? She asked, exhausted. Vegas. Got a tip on a big game. I'll double our money, pay off some debts. Our money? Marcus, I just worked a 16-hour shift. I haven't seen a dime from you in 6 months. Here we go again. You know what, Amara? You're exhausting. Always working, always tired, always judging me. Maybe I need some space. Space. She laughed bitterly. I've been supporting you for 3 years. Paid your rent, your car, your expenses. And you need space? I didn't ask you to do all that. You wanted to play the martyr. That's on you. The words hit like a physical blow. 3 years of her life, her exhaustion, her sacrifice, reduced to playing the martyr. Get out, she said quietly. What? Get out. Take your things and leave. We're done. Babe, come on, I didn't mean… Yes, you did. You meant every word, And you know what? You're right. I was playing the martyr. But that's over. Get out of my apartment. Marcus's face twisted with anger. Fine. But don't come crying to me when you can't make rent, when your family's drowning in debt. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, and you're too stupid to see it. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Amara stood in the sudden silence, surrounded by the wreckage of her life. Then she picked up her phone and called the number Jaewon had given her. "I'll marry you," she said when he answered, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "You keep your promise about my family's debts. Every penny cleared. And you give me your word you won't hurt Marcus no matter what he's done." "Done." "Anything else?" "1 year. We stay married for 1 year. After that, if I want a divorce, you let me go. No threats, no consequences." There was a pause. 1 year to make you love me. I accept your terms. The wedding will be in 2 days. I'll send everything you need. 2 days? That's not enough time. I've waited 6 months. I won't wait any longer. 2 days, Amara. Become my wife. And everything changes. The ceremony took place at a mansion overlooking Lake Michigan, the same location where Chicago's elite held their most exclusive events. Amara stood in a dressing room, staring at her reflection in a wedding gown that cost more than her annual salary. White silk, hand-beaded, custom-made to her measurements in less than 48 hours. Her mother wept with joy, believing this was a fairy tale. Her father looked uncomfortable in his tuxedo, suspicious but unable to deny the blessings this marriage had already brought. His restaurant's debts magically cleared, his wife's medical bills paid in full for the next 5 years, his son's legal troubles vanished overnight. Only Amara knew the truth. She was trading herself for their freedom. The guests were a disturbing mix. Legitimate business people who probably didn't know Jaewon's real business, and dangerous men who definitely did. She recognized faces from FBI wanted posters alongside Chicago's political elite. When the music began and the doors opened, she walked down the aisle alone. Her father had offered to give her away, but she'd refused. This wasn't a gift to be given. It was a transaction, a sacrifice. Jaewon stood at the altar in a black tuxedo looking devastatingly handsome. When she reached him, he took her hand, and she felt the calluses there. Fighters' hands, killers' hands. "You came," he whispered. "I gave my word." "So did I. Your family will want for nothing, Amara. I promise you that." The officiant began the ceremony. She heard herself speak the vows, heard Jaewon's responses, felt the cold weight of the ring as he slid it onto her finger, a diamond so large it was almost vulgar, a mark of possession. "You may kiss the bride." Jaewon cupped her face gently, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones. "Thank you," he whispered, then kissed her softly. It was briefer than she'd expected, almost chaste, but she felt the restraint in it, the leashed desire, the controlled need. When he pulled back, his eyes were burning. "Mine," he said quietly, for her ears only. "Finally mine." The reception was a blur of champagne she didn't drink, and congratulations from people she didn't know. Jaewon kept her close, his hand never leaving her waist, staking his claim publicly. She played the role of happy bride, smiling until her face hurt. Then she saw Marcus. He stood at the edge of the crowd, half hidden behind a column, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. Before she could react, security descended on him. "Wait," Jaewon said, holding up a hand. His men stopped. "Let him watch. Let him see exactly what he lost." Marcus's face contorted with rage and something else. Regret, maybe. "Amara, don't do this. He's a criminal. A killer. Come with me now, we can still—" "Run away," Jaewon finished coldly. "Like you were planning to do anyway? Vegas, wasn't it? With money you stole from her? Fuck you. Amara loves me, not you. You can force her to marry you, but you'll never have her heart. Jaewon smiled, and it was terrifying. Her heart will come. I have time. But you? You have exactly 60 seconds to leave before I forget my promise to my wife not to hurt you. Start counting. Marcus looked at Amara one last time, and she saw the truth in his eyes. He'd never loved her. Not really. She'd been convenient. A caretaker. A means to an end. The realization should have hurt more than it did. He left at 53 seconds. As the reception continued, Amara felt the weight of her new reality settling over her. She was married to Chicago's most dangerous man. She'd sold herself to save her family. And somewhere deep inside, a traitorous part of her wondered if Jaewon's obsession might actually be preferable to Marcus's indifference. The penthouse was her new prison, beautiful and suffocating in equal measure. Jaewon had moved all her belongings while she was at work her last day at the hospital. He'd insisted she quit, promising to pay for medical school in full if she wanted to continue her education without the burden of working. I want you safe and rested, he'd said, not exhausted from double shifts. It should have been a kindness. It felt like control. He assigned 2 bodyguards to follow her everywhere, Minjun, his right-hand man, and a woman named Haiwan who was apparently trained in 6 forms of martial arts. They were polite but constant, shadows she couldn't escape. But true to his word, Jaewon never touched her. He'd had a guest room prepared with everything she could possibly need. At night, he'd stand at her door, watching her with those intense dark eyes, then wish her good night and retreat to his own room. I told you, he'd say when she asked why. I want you to come to me willingly, not out of obligation or fear. The waiting was somehow worse than if he'd just consummated the marriage. She found herself thinking about him constantly, wondering what he was doing, whether his business dealings turned violent, whether he thought about her the way she increasingly thought about him. 3 weeks into the marriage, she decided to test her boundaries. She told Minjun she was going to visit her family. Of course, Mrs. Kim, I'll drive you. Alone, she clarified. I'm going alone. Minjun looked uncomfortable. Boss's orders are very clear. You're not to go anywhere unprotected. I'm visiting my family, not infiltrating a drug cartel. I'll be fine. I'm sorry, Mrs. Kim, but is there a problem? Jaewon's voice cut through the discussion. He'd just returned from a meeting, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up to reveal surprisingly artistic tattoos snaking up his forearms. Your wife wants to visit her family without security, Minjun explained. Jaewon looked at Amara, his expression unreadable. Alone? Yes, alone. Like a normal person. You're not a normal person anymore. You're my wife. That makes you a target. He moved closer, and she caught his scent, subtle cologne mixed with something uniquely him. Every enemy I've made, every rival looking for leverage, every ambitious criminal wanting to make a name, they all know the quickest way to hurt me is through you. So I'm just supposed to live in this gilded cage forever? Never go anywhere without armed guards? Yes. He said it simply, without apology. That's the price of being mine. I'm not yours. I'm a person, not a possession. You're both. He cupped her face, his touch surprisingly gentle despite his words. You're a brilliant, strong, stubborn woman who saved my life. And you're mine. My wife. My responsibility. My obsession. Both things are true. She should have pushed him away. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. I hate you. I know. But you're starting to hate me less. I can wait. The walls between them began to crack in unexpected ways. Amara discovered that Jaewon woke at 5 a.m. every day to train, boxing mostly, maintaining the skills that had kept him alive in the underground fighting world. One morning, unable to sleep, she watched from the penthouse gym's doorway as he worked the heavy bag. His movements were poetry and violence combined, each strike perfectly placed, controlled, devastating. Sweat gleamed on his skin, his muscles moving beneath his tattoos. He was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade catching light. He noticed her watching. Want to learn? Learn what? How to hurt people? How to protect yourself? He tossed her a pair of gloves. Come on. If you're going to be married to me, you should know how to defend yourself. She found herself pulling on the gloves, letting him position her in front of the bag. He stood behind her, his hands guiding her stance, his breath warm against her ear as he instructed. Rotate your hip into the punch. Power comes from your core, not your arm, like this. His hand splayed across her stomach, directing the movement. She threw a punch. The bag barely moved. Again. Harder. Imagine it's Marcus's face. She punched again, and this time the bag swung satisfyingly. Better. You have more anger in you than you let show. Use it. They trained together every morning after that. He taught her to fight, to defend herself, to channel her anger and fear into something productive. And slowly she began to see past the Ice King facade to the man beneath, disciplined, controlled, but not emotionless. Just very, very careful about who saw his emotions. She learned other things, too. He was fluent in 4 languages. He'd taught himself to cook after aging out of the orphanage at 16, learning from YouTube videos. His favorite food was his late mother's kimchi jjigae, a recipe he tried to recreate but never quite got right. She died when I was 6, he told her one night over dinner he'd prepared. Korean bulgogi with jasmine rice. My father disappeared before I was born. The orphanage was not kind. I learned early that the world respects violence and power. Nothing else. That's not true, Amara said softly. The world also respects kindness, compassion. Maybe in your world, not in mine. He met her eyes across the table. Until you jumped into freezing water to save a dying stranger. No thought for your own safety. No expectation of reward. That's not the world I know, Amara, but it's the world I want to deserve. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something in her chest. She was falling for him, she realized with horror. Falling for her captor, her obsessed husband, the monster who'd blackmailed her into marriage. Stockholm Syndrome, she told herself. That's all this was. But it felt like something else. 3 months into their marriage, Viktor Petrov made his move. Amara was at her father's restaurant. Jaewon had finally agreed to let her visit with only Minjun as security, a small victory in their ongoing negotiation of boundaries. She was helping her mother with lunch prep, feeling almost normal for the first time in months, when Minjun's phone rang. His expression went from relaxed to alarmed in seconds. We need to leave, now. What? Why? Your brother. He's been taken. The world tilted. Dante, her 14-year-old brother, had been on his way home from school. 3 men in a black van had grabbed him off the street in broad daylight. Witnesses said it happened in seconds. Minjun got her into the car, already calling Jaewon. Boss, it's the Petrov crew. They took the kid. Amara's hands shook as she grabbed the phone. Jaewon, please. Please. He's just a baby. He's 14. If anything happens to him, nothing will happen to him. Jaewon's voice was dead calm, which was somehow more terrifying than rage. I promise you, Amara, I will bring him home. But you need to go to the penthouse now. Minjun, take her straight there. Maximum security protocol. What are you going to do? What I should have done months ago. End this. The call disconnected. The next 4 hours were the longest of Amara's life. She paced the penthouse, Minjun and Haiwan stationed at the door, refusing to give her any details about what was happening. All she knew was that Jaewon had mobilized his entire organization. Men with guns had poured out of every corner of his empire, descending on Viktor Petrov's territory like an army. When Jaewon finally called, his voice was rough. "I have him. Dante's safe. A little shaken, but unhurt. I'm bringing him to you." She collapsed with relief, tears pouring down her face. "Thank you. Thank you. I. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over." An hour later, the elevator opened and Dante rushed out, throwing himself into Amara's arms. She held him tight, checking him for injuries, her hands shaking. "I'm okay, Mar. I'm okay. Mr. Kim got there before anything bad happened." Jaewon stepped out of the elevator behind him, and Amara's breath caught. His suit was torn. Blood splattered across his white shirt, hopefully not his own. His knuckles were raw and bleeding. His face was a mask of controlled fury. "Dante, go with Haiwan. She'll set you up in the guest room," Jaewon said quietly. When they were alone, Amara walked to him, her legs shaking with adrenaline and relief. "Are you hurt?" "Not badly. What happened?" "Victor wanted to trade Dante for my territory and my life. I gave him a different offer. I'd let him live if he left Chicago permanently. He declined." Jaewon's jaw tightened. "He won't be making any more offers." "You killed him." "Yes. And everyone who helped take your brother. And anyone who even knew about the plan." He met her eyes, and she saw the monster there, undisguised. "This is who I am, Amara. This is what I do. I told you. I'm your monster. I destroy anyone who threatens what's mine." She should have been horrified. Instead, she stepped forward and kissed him. He froze for a heartbeat, shocked, then his arms came around her, pulling her close. The kiss deepened, 3 months of tension and fear and unwanted desire exploding between them. She tasted blood on his lips, his or someone else's. She didn't care. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Amara, don't talk. Don't explain. Just, I need you. Right now I need you." He lifted her into his arms, carrying her to his bedroom. Their bedroom now. They made love with desperate urgency, violence and tenderness intertwined, breaking every boundary she'd carefully maintained. Afterward, lying in his arms, feeling his heartbeat against her back, she whispered, "I think I'm falling in love with you." His arms tightened around her. "I fell in love with you the moment you pulled me from that river. I've just been waiting for you to catch up." For 2 blissful months, Amara lived in the fantasy that maybe everything would work out. She'd started medical school at Northwestern. Jaewon had kept his promise about tuition. She trained with him every morning. They had dinner together every night. He was attentive, protective, and surprisingly gentle despite his reputation. She'd almost forgotten about Marcus Williams. Then he reappeared like a ghost from her past. She was leaving the medical school library late one evening, Min-jun waiting by the car, when someone grabbed her arm. She spun, martial arts training kicking in, but stopped when she saw his face. Marcus looked terrible, gaunt, desperate, with the wild eyes of an addict. "Amara, thank God. I need to talk to you. Let go of me, now. Please. Just 5 minutes. I know I messed up, but I need help. Victor's people, they want me dead. They think I helped your husband." He spat the word like poison. "Wipe out their organization. I'm in trouble, Amara, real trouble." Minjun was already moving toward them, but Amara held up a hand. "You came to me for help? After everything? You're the only person I have left. Your husband has all the power now. He could protect me if you asked him. Please, Amara, for what we had. What we had was me sacrificing everything while you took, and gave nothing back. You don't get to cash in on old feelings you never actually had. I loved you. I still love you. No, you loved what I could do for you. There's a difference." Marcus's expression twisted from desperate to ugly. You know what? Fuck you. You think you're better than me now? You married a fucking murderer. A mobster. At least I never killed anyone. No. You just enabled them. Dealt their drugs. Gambled away money I earned. Used me until I was empty. She stepped back. We're done here. Minjun, please escort Mr. Williams off the campus. As Minjun moved forward, Marcus pulled a gun. Everything happened at once. Minjun drew his weapon. Marcus pointed his at Amara. And she realized, with crystal clarity, that Marcus had never planned to ask for help. He'd planned to take her hostage. You're coming with me. You're my ticket out of this city. Your husband will trade anything for you. Marcus, don't be stupid. Shut up. Just shut up. His hands shook, finger on the trigger. I had everything planned. I was going to pay off my debts, start fresh. Then you had to go and marry that psycho, and he destroyed everything. Killed everyone I worked with. Now I've got nothing because of you. Because of me? I saved your life by marrying him. He wanted to kill you. Yeah? Well, maybe he should have. At least then I wouldn't be living in hiding broke, with a price on my head. Marcus's eyes were glassy with drugs or desperation or both. We're going to walk to my car. You're going to come quietly. And you're going to call your husband and tell him to meet us alone. Got it? Amara's mind raced. She couldn't let him take her. Couldn't let this spiral further. She thought of everything Jaewon had taught her. The element of surprise. Using an attacker's expectations against them. Okay, she said, hands raised. Okay, I'll come. Just don't hurt anyone. Marcus relaxed slightly, and that was his mistake. Amara struck fast, knocking the gun up with one hand while driving her palm into his nose with the other, exactly as Jaewon had taught her. Marcus stumbled backward, blood pouring from his face. The gun fell, and Minjun kicked it away. You bitch! Marcus lunged at her, but Minjun intercepted, pinning him to the ground with professional efficiency. Campus security arrived within minutes, then Chicago PD. Marcus was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, attempted kidnapping, and a list of other charges that would keep him in prison for years. As the police took him away, Marcus screamed at her. He'll get tired of you, just like I did. You're nothing special, Amara. Nothing. She stood trembling, adrenaline crashing through her system, until another car arrived. Jaewon emerged, moving through the crowd like a force of nature, ignoring the police trying to question him until he reached her. He pulled her into his arms and she felt his heart racing as fast as hers. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. Minjun protected me. I'll kill him. It wasn't a threat, but a statement of fact. I'll go to whatever prison they send him to and I'll kill him myself. No. She pulled back to look at him. He's going to prison. Let the system handle it. I don't want his blood on your hands or mine. He pointed a gun at you, and I disarmed him. You taught me well. She managed a shaky smile. See? I'm not helpless anymore. He cupped her face, his hands gentle despite the violence in his eyes. You were never helpless. But I should have ended this threat months ago. I let him live because you asked me to, and he nearly... His voice broke. If anything had happened to you, but it didn't. I'm here. I'm safe. She kissed him softly. Take me home. Marcus's arrest should have been the end of it, but he had one final card to play. From jail, he contacted the FBI, offering to testify against Jaewon in exchange for witness protection. Special Agent Sarah Morrison showed up at the penthouse with a warrant and a proposition. Mrs. Kim, I'm going to be direct. Your husband is one of the most dangerous criminals in Chicago. We've been building a case against him for years. Marcus Williams has offered to testify about multiple crimes, murders, racketeering, weapons trafficking. With your testimony added to his, we could finally put Jaewon Kim away for life. Amara stood in the doorway, Jaewon beside her, his expression unreadable. In exchange, Agent Morrison continued, we'll offer you witness protection, a new identity, relocation, security. You can start over, finish medical school somewhere safe. Your family would be protected too. No, Amara said immediately. Mrs. Kim, I understand you may feel conflicted. Stockholm Syndrome is a real phenomenon. But your husband has killed people. He's destroyed lives. Agent Morrison, I appreciate your concern, but I'm not interested in your offer. My husband is a legitimate businessman now, whatever he did in the past. He killed Viktor Petrov and 17 other men just 2 months ago. In defense of my 14-year-old brother who was kidnapped and threatened with death. That's not murder. That's protection. Agent Morrison sighed. The offer stands. When you're ready to accept reality, call me. She left a card on the table. When the door closed, Jaewon turned to Amara. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. She's right, about what I've done. Who I am. You could have your freedom right now. Your family would be protected. You could finish school, become the surgeon you've always wanted to be. Start over without the weight of being married to a criminal. Is that what you want? For me to leave? I want you to be happy, even if that means being without me. She stepped closer, taking his hands. Then you should know. I'm happiest when I'm with you. Yes, you've done terrible things. Yes, you blackmailed me into this marriage. Yes, you're obsessive and controlling and dangerous. But you're also the man who learned to cook so he could feed me. Who pays for my education without asking for anything in return. Who protects my family like they're your own. Who taught me to fight so I could protect myself. Who looks at me like I'm the most precious thing in his world. Amara, I love you, Jaewon Kim. Not because I have to. Not because I'm your prisoner. But because despite everything, somehow, you became my home. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, and she tasted tears. His or hers? She wasn't sure. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. I don't deserve you. No, you don't. But you're stuck with me anyway. Over the next 6 months, Jaewon kept his promise to go completely legitimate. He cooperated with federal investigators, providing information that took down 3 rival organizations in exchange for immunity. He liquidated his underground holdings and invested everything in legitimate businesses, real estate, restaurants, a security firm that employed his former crew in legal work. It wasn't easy. Some of his men resisted the change. Others took the opportunity to strike out on their own, some successfully, some not. There were attempts on his life, on Amara's life, but together they weathered every storm. Amara excelled at Northwestern, her grades near perfect despite the chaos of her personal life. She discovered a passion for trauma surgery, maybe inevitable given her exposure to violence, or maybe a way to heal the damage she'd witnessed. Her family slowly came to terms with her unusual marriage. Her father remained suspicious but couldn't argue with the results. His restaurant was thriving, his wife was healthy, his son was safe, and doing well in a private school Jaewon had insisted on funding. But there was one last ghost to confront. Agent Morrison called exactly 1 year after her first visit. Mrs. Kim, there's someone you need to see. Marcus Williams wants to speak with you. He says he has information that might change your perspective on your husband. Amara almost refused, but curiosity won. She agreed to meet at the federal building, with Jaewon's knowledge and blessing. Marcus sat in an interrogation room, orange jumpsuit making him look smaller than she remembered. Prison had not been kind to him. His face was bruised, his hands shaking. Amara, you came. I have 5 minutes. What do you want? To tell you the truth. About that day at the river, 6 months before you married him. Marcus's voice was bitter. It wasn't an accident. I was there. I'm the one who pushed him in. Amara's blood turned to ice. What? Viktor Petrov paid me $50,000 to kill Jaewon Kim. Said to make it look like an accident. I followed him for weeks, learning his patterns. That morning, I saw my chance. He was jogging alone by the river. I came up behind him, shoved him in, watched him sink. I thought he'd drown, thought that was the end of it. Then you showed up. She couldn't breathe. You tried to kill him. Yeah. And you saved him. You saved the man I was paid to murder. Then I met you at that coffee shop, started dating you, never knowing you were the one who'd ruined everything. Isn't that ironic? I fell for the girl who saved my target. When Jaewon found out, when he realized the connection, God, Amara, he could have killed me 100 times over. But he didn't. Know why? Why? Because you loved me. Or he thought you did. He told me once, right before he let me go that first time, that he'd suffer my existence because ending me would hurt you. That your happiness mattered more than his revenge. Marcus laughed bitterly. How fucked up is that? The man I tried to murder spared me because I was dating you. Amara stood, her legs shaking. You're telling me this why? Because you should know. You should know that your husband is genuinely insane about you. Obsessed in a way that's actually kind of beautiful, if you can get past the murder and crime and all that. And you should know that I never deserved you. Not for a single second. She left without another word. That night, Amara confronted Jaewon in their bedroom. You knew about Marcus trying to kill you. You knew the whole time. He didn't deny it. I found out about 3 weeks after we married. Background check revealed his connection to Viktor, to the payment. The timeline matched. And you didn't tell me? Would it have changed anything? Made you feel better about our marriage? Or would it have just given you one more reason to feel guilty? I had a right to know. Yes. He met her eyes steadily. You did. And I was selfish enough to keep it from you because I was afraid. Afraid you'd feel obligated to stay with me out of guilt. Afraid you'd question whether your feelings were real or just gratitude. I wanted you to love me despite everything I'd done, not because of what he'd done. Amara sank onto the bed. This is so messed up. Yes. You blackmailed me into marriage. Yes. You're obsessive and controlling. Yes. You've killed people. Yes. And I love you anyway. God help me, I love you. He knelt before her, taking her hands. I know I don't deserve you. I know how this started was wrong. But Amara, these past 12 months have been the best of my life. You've made me want to be better. Made me believe I could be more than just a monster. If you want to leave, if you want that divorce we agreed to, I'll honor it. I'll let you go. Your family will remain protected, supported, safe. But please, please tell me you'll stay. She looked at this man who'd torn her life apart and somehow put it back together better than before. This man who'd saved her brother, protected her family, taught her to be strong. This man who looked at her like she hung the moon and stars. I'll stay, she whispered, but on one condition. Anything. No more secrets. No more protection from uncomfortable truths. We do this as equals, or not at all. Equals, he agreed, pulling her into his arms. Partners. Always. Amara Bennett Kim stood on the stage at Northwestern's medical school graduation, her white coat pristine, her mother and father cheering from the audience. Jaewon sat beside them, looking uncomfortable in his formal suit but smiling nonetheless. Genuine, unguarded, happy. She'd graduated top of her class. Her residency was lined up at County General in trauma surgery, exactly where she wanted to be. Her family was healthy, safe, thriving. Her 14-year-old brother Dante had become an unexpected fixture in their penthouse, his hero worship of Jaewon both amusing and touching. Marcus Williams was serving 15 years in federal prison. Viktor Petrov was dead. The FBI had closed their case against J1 after he'd provided evidence that dismantled 3 criminal organizations and testified in 4 major trials. Chicago's Ice King had melted. In his place was a legitimate businessman, philanthropist, and devoted husband. As Amara walked across the stage to receive her diploma, she caught J1's eye. He mouthed 3 words. "I love you." She mouthed them back. That night, at the celebration dinner at her father's restaurant, now expanded and renowned throughout Chicago, J1 pulled her aside. "I have something for you." He handed her a small box. Inside was a new ring, still beautiful, still expensive, but simpler than the ostentatious diamond he'd given her at their forced wedding. This one was a simple platinum band with a single tasteful sapphire. "I want to give you the proposal you deserved, the choice you never had." He got down on one knee, right there in her father's restaurant, in front of their families and friends. "Amara Bennett Kim, will you marry me? Not because you have to, not because I'm threatening anyone, but because you want to. Because you love me the way I love you, desperately, completely, irrevocably." She pulled him to his feet, laughing and crying simultaneously. "We're already married, you impossible man. Then marry me again. The right way this time, your choice." "Yes," she said, kissing him as their families cheered. "Yes, I'll marry you again. And again. And again. For the rest of our lives." He slipped the new ring onto her finger next to the old one, a symbol of where they'd been and where they were going. "I thought marrying you would be the end of my life," she whispered against his lips. "I never imagined it would be the beginning." "Neither did I," he admitted, "but I'm grateful every day that you saved me. Not just from drowning in that river, but from drowning in darkness. You're my salvation, Amara, my redemption, my everything. And you're mine, my monster, my protector, my home." They kissed again as the restaurant erupted in applause. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the worst way possible and somehow built the best life imaginable. She'd been forced into marriage with a heartless Mafia king. She never imagined she'd fall completely, irrevocably, beautifully in love. But that's exactly what happened, and she wouldn't change a single thing.